Hi, this is Katie. Yes, I'm filming this at 10 o'clock at night. It is so dark out. The light is just like a parking lot light. I don't have any lights on in my car. I know that this lighting is horrible, but like, that's much worse. So, is this doable? Is this okay? We're gonna go with a solid, hopefully. And also, yes, my car is on because it's kind of cold out, so I just have the heat on. I hope it's not too loud. But anyway, in today's video, I want to talk about something that I've actually been asked quite a few times. And maybe I've mentioned it in another video, but I honestly can't remember if I have. And I almost definitely have never made a dedicated video about it. I know that I've had a few comments recently that my videos are getting a little repetitive, and I totally hear you, and I'm totally listening to you. And so I am going to do everything that I can to pump out like new content for you guys. But since I have so many new subscribers all the time who don't watch all my videos, sometimes I do like to repeat certain things, if that makes sense, like so that just like my newer people know without having to go watch all my older videos. But I know for people who have been subscribed for a while, it gets a little repetitive. So I definitely hear you. Definitely gonna do a ton of new content. And so I think this is new content. I'm pretty sure it is. And if it's not, honestly, I'm so sorry. But I don't think I've done a dedicated video on this yet. I haven't even told you what it is yet. I am going to be doing a video on the things that I don't like about living in my car. And so I feel like I talked about this once very quickly in another video, but I didn't go in depth, and I only talked about like one or two things. And so I hope that makes sense. I wanted to make this a dedicated video about just the things that are not my favorite about living in my car, like either things that I miss about living in a house or just things that make living in a car kind of difficult. And so that's what this video is going to be about, and so let's just get started. And so honestly, the first thing that I really just honestly do not like about living in my car and sleeping in my car is when it's raining out. And I know that a lot of people like when it rains, and like the rain soothes them, and like all the noises and the scent and everything. People love rain, right? When it's raining, when I'm in my car, the rain on my roof is the loudest thing in the entire world. And it just keeps me awake. It honestly just keeps me awake, and it makes it really hard for me to fall asleep. I could obviously get earplugs. I just haven't yet, because also it's not usually a huge deal because it just doesn't rain like too often where I am, but it has happened a few times, and it makes falling asleep incredibly difficult. Easy solution, earplugs. Gonna get those for next time. But yeah, that is just one of the hardest things. Like, it just is so loud. It's just so loud. And I'm not someone like, it's really interesting because I can fall asleep almost anywhere. And actually, funny enough, I feel like maybe I mentioned this before, like I used to fall asleep during like my ex-boyfriend's band practices, like super loud, totally just fell asleep during it. And so like certain sounds almost like help me fall asleep, or it has to be completely silent, or like a fan or something I like. There's like certain sounds that either help me or that I'm okay with, but also certain things, i.e. rain, just keep me up. And snoring. If I can hear you snoring, I will not fall asleep. Can't do it. But yeah, I just need to get earplugs for next time. But that's something that I don't like. Like sometimes it's hard to fall asleep when it's raining. One of the other things, I would say this is almost like tied for number one, is when I get sick, especially when I get like stomach sick. It's not ideal. It's definitely not super difficult. I feel like a lot of people think that it's like the hardest thing in the entire world to get stomach sick when you live in the car. But in all honesty, especially if it happens during the day, it's not too bad. Malls are open, Targets are open, TJ Maxx are open, restaurants. Like there's so many places that you can use a restroom. But at night, like especially like in the middle of the night, because it has happened before that I've woken up at 2 a.m. and I'm like really sick and I need to run to a bathroom. And I almost always sleep at truck stops, and that's one of the reasons why, is because they're open 24/7, so I can go walk inside and use their bathroom. And I know, again, that's not ideal for most people, and it's not ideal for me, but like it's kind of like part of the job, you know? Like I've chosen to live in my car right now. Just as a wild PS, right this second I'm not living in my car, I really hurt my neck and my shoulder, and so I cannot even travel right now until I get better. I'm going to physical therapy. That's just the quick of that. So I'm staying at my mom's house on Long Island, but I have slept in my car hundreds of times, lived in my car, traveled, all this stuff, and getting sick especially against stomach sick, is just like, I know again that I made the choice. And so you have to deal with the consequences of the choices that you make. Every single choice you make is gonna have a couple things that are not good, or a ton of things that are not good or that you don't love, you know? Just like a job or a relationship might not have like, oh, well, I wish this one thing was different, but it's okay. You know, like you compromise, you make sacrifices because overall you love something, right? And so I overall love living in my car. So things like the rain, yeah, that happens once a month, you know, or something like that. So I don't like it when it happens, but I get over it and it's totally fine. Something like getting sick when it's happening feels miserable, because even if you're sick in a house, you feel miserable. So the idea of having to go into a truck stop is just like a little bit extra, like, you know, but again, I'm kind of used to it by now, and so it's not my ideal, but I definitely do feel comfortable enough to just like go walk into a rest area or a truck stop or something, or a Target, even if it's like 11 o'clock and a Target's still open or something like that. It is, again, I know that it would make a lot of people uncomfortable and I don't love it, but it's just one of the semi-negatives about living in your car, because it's not ideal to be sick in a public restroom. Another thing that I don't love is like, sometimes my clothes wrinkle. I know that sounds like, okay, Katie, get over it. But I'm just really thinking of like anything that I don't love. Like it's kind of hard to have certain clothes because certain clothes wrinkle, and it's hard to have like thick clothes. And so I'm not really a sweater person, but if I was, it would be really hard to have like a bunch of sweaters in the car because they take up so much room. And so that's kind of one of the things too, is like when I lived in apartments or houses, I loved having a lot of books. I loved collecting books. I can't do that in the car. And so there's just certain things, again, it's all about making a decision and doing something you really, really, really want to do, knowing that there are going to be sacrifices and compromises. And so one of the sacrifices, which is a very, very small one, absolutely, I understand, is just that I don't collect books anymore. I just don't have the room. I don't want to have those in the car. I have a few in the car, maybe like 5-ish books or 6 books, because I have a Kindle, but my Kindle doesn't really work anymore. So I think I'm going to get a new one and then just get all my books on there. It is just different. You guys know, like if you really love having a lot of books, you know that it's different, like collecting books versus having a Kindle with books on it. But also, again, just with clothes, like I have much less clothes, and I am I would say like a mild minimalist. Like everything that I own, I do use and I do love, and I think that's kind of the definition of minimalism in my opinion. It doesn't mean that you don't have anything, it just means that you use what you have. But like when I was in a house, I did have more clothes, you know, like you have more options, and it's just like, it's easier in a sense. But I don't know if I would say prefer it, but I think I kind of do prefer it, living in the car, in terms of you really have to pay attention to what you have. And so even with things like makeup, which I love makeup, and clothes, I really do like clothes, but it's just like, okay, is this gonna fit in my suitcase? Is this gonna fit in my makeup bag? Is this gonna fit in my car in a way that is still gonna make me feel comfortable in the car, you know? And so if you're living in a house, you can just kind of buy things, not all the time obviously, but it's easier to be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna buy this sweater because I love it and can afford it, versus wait, do I have room for it, you know? So it's just something that you have to be more aware of. But again, sacrifice is totally cool with, but it is something that is just a little bit different than living in a house, that if you like love collecting things that are kind of big, living in the car is just gonna be a little bit difficult. Sometimes I get anxious or nervous about finding a place to sleep. This does not happen very often, but in places like Southern California, where it's like pretty illegal to live in your car, and I usually like to sleep at truck stops and rest areas, and there are not that many that are big enough where you could really sleep in your car there. I know that there are definitely other places that people can sleep, but even in places, again, like Southern California, you're not even really allowed to sleep at most Walmarts, you know? And so sometimes finding a place to sleep is kind of difficult. Not all the time. And I'm trying to think if I've ever had a difficulty where I couldn't at all. I don't think so. But there have been times that I've had to sleep in places that maybe I didn't feel super comfortable, but it worked out anyway, you know? And it usually doesn't make me anxious or nervous or anything, because usually there are places, especially if I'm traveling, especially if I'm on the road. But if I'm staying in one place for a few weeks or something, and you know, like, staying in the same place every single night is going to cause a little bit of suspicion. And so I don't really prefer that or suggest that. And so that makes it a little bit harder, because then you have to find, you know, if you're staying somewhere for 3 weeks, you got to find like 3 or 4 places to stay that you can kind of jump around, or stay on places that is totally legal, like BLM land. Or if you have a friend who has a house, you can stay at their property or something like that. But the places that I like to stay, again, like truck stops and stuff, staying there for 2 weeks straight every single night, probably not super, I just don't think that's like the best idea. I know people who have done that. I know specifically one person who said they stayed at one truck stop for like 2 weeks straight and she was totally fine, but I don't really feel comfortable doing that every single night. And so it is the teeniest bit stressful sometimes. And again, obviously there's so many things that sometimes I'll miss, you know, like sometimes I'll miss making a frozen pizza and sitting on the couch and watching TV or something in a house, or having a bathroom, or like having my own shower that I don't have to wear sandals in the shower, you know, like sometimes I miss those things, but it is pretty rare for me. And again, it's all about priorities. I would much rather live in my car and travel and have the lifestyle that I have versus staying put just to have those comforts. Like, I'm not a creature of comfort. I know a lot of people are. And so I think a lot of people might think like, oh, well, don't you miss having a shower? Or don't you wish that you were able to like do this or this or this? And I'm like, yeah, sometimes, but that's not my priority. And so I don't like hate that about living in my car. I'm totally fine eating the food that I know I can eat, or going out to eat, or getting like pre-made food and things like that. And again, using public restrooms, public showers, I'm totally used to. And again, if I'm sick, I don't love it, but I'm still definitely used to it, and being sick sucks anyway, so. And that is gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you're enjoying Vlogmas so far. This was Vlogmas day 2 for me. I'm going to be doing 4 videos a week. 3 are gonna be vlogs, and 1 is gonna be like a sit down video like this, talking about car stuff. And I know that a couple of my vlogs have seemed kind of similar because I do very similar things most days. Like I work, you know, like a lot of the time, but I definitely am going to be showing you different things and new things and more sites on Long Island and things like that. So don't worry, there will be new content, I promise. But that is gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you on Thursday. I love you, Jesus loves you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.